Okay.
But
So
if you could condense you know the years growing up with them as your parents into, I don't know,
Like, what was it?
like a memory. What memory would show
relationship?
us like this is what it was like having them as my parents?
Yeah, like what
Their
were they as
mannerisms toward
parents?
you guys.
Well-
everything.
There were two lives of Tom and Peggy O'Donoghue, and there were two families within Tom and Peggy O'Donoghue. We always, Dennis, Mary Kay, and I talk about the first family, which was us three basically, and then the move to the farm. But the second family was Jeff, Tim, Tom, and Sheila, and they were all clumped in a reasonable age together. Dennis, Mary Kay, and I were 1 year apart. There was a gap. Nana actually had a miscarriage, and I had a brother that died at birth, and so she didn't have kids until Jeff. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if it was at birth or if it was but it was around. It was late in
Wow.
pregnancy. Yeah.
jeez.
So I would have had a brother. Yeah.
Another brother.
And anyway, moving on from that, there was, like I said, two families. There was the first family where we were starting out, trying to make it, scratching and clawing, very poor, but always went to Catholic schools. They always found a way to put us into Catholic school, and you know, Nana, she always sacrificed everything, you know, for the kids. And, Dad was hard. I mean, strict budget, but you know, Christmas was always loaded with, you know, gifts and things. But it was very tight. It was very tight, you know, family, and very small. Then the other group happened around the mid-'70s when the Blarney Stone opened, and that was the emergence of Tom O'Donoghue, the statesman in the city of Pittsburgh, and the restaurateur, and he went from being the carpenter and, you know, remodeling business to, kept that going, but he had the, you know, the Blarney Stone just taken off, and, you know, all the ego and everything else. So when you say what's your memory or whatever, there's two different things.
Yeah.
For us, it was a simple life, you know, Dennis, Mary Kay, and I, of all teaming together. We were at each other's throats a lot, but we were always teaming together because it was a poor, simple life. But we were never for wanting for anything. I mean, it was good. But then there was, you know, money started coming in, you know, developments, all this other stuff was happening. So it was a whole different lifestyle for Tim, Tom, Jeff, and Sheila.
I know. Build upon that, like, how did like the whole restaurant thing, and then like the whole evolution of that to like Agami construction and all that other stuff to developing the neighborhood, and you know, was that just like a side, like a fun project, I guess, for him?
No,
Like,
nothing was ever fun with
Yeah.
Dad.
Like, was he just like,
But that
I
was
just want to
just for-
open up a restaurant?
yeah.
wants
Well,
to,
he
like, hold
that
that
was his
culture.
brother, right? That wanted.
No, there was basically the way the story goes is, you know, the restaurant was a Croatian hall. It was just one story. They built it structurally so there could be a second floor put on because they were going to put a bowling alley up there. But anyway, a guy was going to open it up, you know, as a restaurant. Dad was doing remodeling work and whatever folded. He had an opportunity to buy it, and so he did with the premise that he would do a restaurant. And Uncle Tony, Uncle Dennis, called him Tony, of course, he was the executive chef at PNC Bank, and he had worked at Shanapin Country Club with Aunt Eileen. She worked there for years, and he was the chef there. Then he went to PNC, and he left PNC to come over to start the Blarney Stone. So basically, that was the start of it. Anyway, they worked together there. Dad owned it. Uncle Dennis didn't have any equity. He wanted some equity. They split up, and Uncle Dennis left and went on his own. Did some other things. Had a catering business, and then he bought a little bar in Millville called Grant's Tavern in Millville. Is that Grant?
It's still there, yeah.
Yeah, it's still there.
Grant Bar.
Grant Bar. Anyway, that was how the restaurant, that was 1973 when that opened, and as you know, was there for 30 years. Survived 2 floods. But it was interesting because when Dad was in England, there was a guy that he was apprentice partner with, and that guy was going to Australia. I can't remember the guy's name, I'm sure he knew it, but they stayed in touch with each other, and they always said if one or the other would make it in the building business, they would the other. So, boyhood dreams and things. Well, this guy did make it. And my dad, Dr. Pap, came home and said to Nana, this is when we were in the old farmhouse that the Knox were, living in.
That was like on Garvin Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old
The
farmhouse.
white one.
The old haunted farmhouse.
Yep.
And
Not a big deal.
I'll never forget it because he opens up this map of Australia and tells us that we're all moving to Australia.
Where? Right there, in the middle. Like in the middle. Yeah.
With the Aberlin.
There's only a couple times I ever saw Nana put her foot down, and she had put her foot down. We are not going to Australia. He said, yes, we are. And Dennis and I put the map up in our bedrooms on the wall and talked about it every day about koala bears and kangaroos. We couldn't wait to go to Australia.
We're going to Australia.
And
The heck we are.
so anyway,
Well,
it migrated from there a few years later. The learning zone thing happened.
yeah.
And that took off. And I'll never forget that night he brought us all around the dinner table and he said, look, we're a family, and if this thing makes it, we'll be all right. But if it doesn't make it, we're all suffering. So if I fail with this, we all fail.
Great.
A lot of pressure as a 10-year-old, yeah.
We're in.
Yeah, can you
I'm
pass the
walking
mac?
upstairs to go to
Why
bed,
did
and
it say
Dennis
so?
turned around to me,
All?
and he says, yeah, but if he makes it, we're not going to see a dime. Yeah, so that was pretty much. And Dad had a way of spending money as quick as he could make it. He was always looking for a quick scheme to make a buck any way he could. I gave you a million stories about it, but the Irish Festival that goes on in Pittsburgh right now, that was the original Grand Irish Jubilee. He started it. The first one was up at the Falcons Club up in New Kensington. We had it there for 2 years, and then it migrated, to North Park and to other, venues. It went to Station Square, and then eventually he kind of got away from it, and somebody else took it over. And
Oh,
the
yeah,
Irish
that's-
Festival.
Yeah, those are.
Connolly's
Yeah.
took it over that owned the
Yeah, the
Gateway
key.
Clipper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down on Lake
But he ran it for years over
Sand
Station
Castle
Square.
and all that. They have
Always
that.
Cool, I got to
Yeah.
work it though a few years though. That was always really cool.
Yeah. So
So, what's your personal favorite memory with Nana and Papa? If you had one memory that you look back and you're like, that was my favorite.
with them, they weren't together a lot. No.
And you can't say when you saw the light coming out of the tunnel.
Congratulations, Peggy, it's a boy.
I'm sorry, Peggy.
Aw, Peggy.
Individually, I could probably cite a few.
Yeah.
Okay, individually.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah. One with Papa, one
Yeah.
with Nana.
Whatever comes to mind.
it could be even be.
Winning Gaelic football national championship is second to none for him, especially. But but that was his love. It was his first love, as Nan always said. She was the third love. First love was Gaelic football. Second love was the Blarney Center restaurant.
The third love.
And somewhere down that line, we fell in his family.
But that is bad. I mean,
Man, I'll tell
it
you,
seems, light up.
I would
in
say
success.
there's
with that.
one thing that does linger, in my head with him. There's many things he said to me that, I stayed with him a whole bit. But I'd say my sophomore year, I was wrestling in the regionals, and I lost to a kid who was much better than me, but I had him, and I thought I was going to win, and I lost. And I came off, and I was so, he had so much pressure on you all the time to win, and be the best. And you only really this is sad, but you only really paid attention when you were winning. You didn't really pay attention to
Yeah.
which is sad, but it was true. And I just stormed away, and I stormed behind the bleachers, and I was just so fired up, and tears and the whole bit, and he came back and he said, what the hell are you acting like that for? And I said, I could have wanted to pitch him on it. I couldn't even look at him. He said, hey, did you do your best? And I said, yeah. He said, that's it. It's over. You did your best. You can't do any more. You did your best. What are you supposed to do more? I said, he won. You didn't. Let's go.
Yeah.
And
That's
it was just
big.
that you did your best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like there's
big.
nothing
That's
else I
big.
could do.
Nothing else you do.
Yeah, so what
are
and
we
that's
doing?
enough.
That
Yeah.
always stayed with me in sports and coaching and everything with kids. It was, hey, do your best.
Yeah.
Go out to the mountain.
It is a game, you know.
That's
It's
Yeah.
like,
you're
you know,
playing ball and say, hey, I can pull you now. Remember those years? Or you can throw to one more batter.
Fuck.
You want to go now? You can.
My arm
But
would
if
be
you want to throw to
big.
one more batter, and I was like, yeah.
Hey,
You did your
I
best.
did my
Do your
best.
best.
Yeah.
What,
That's all you can do.
That's not your day.
Yeah.
what about
about
Nana?
Nana?
That's a hard one because, man, I drove her absolutely insane through her life.
Well, I mean,
Probably
yeah.
took years off of her life.
But she was
Yeah.
like, I always felt like she was very patient, like with everybody.
Yeah.
And I felt like for me, like she allocated her time to everybody too, like equally.
She was always worried that everybody got a fair shake. So,
Good night,
Good
guys.
night, buddy boy.
Love you.
Love you.
Good night, dude.
Kisses all around.
See ya.
See you tomorrow.
See ya,
See
see
you
ya, see
tomorrow.
ya.
See you tomorrow, buddy boy.
Mwah.
See you tomorrow.
Oh, that's a big hug. Make your rounds.
Round the room, round the room, round the room.
Watch out, boy. Hey, dude.
See you
See
tomorrow.
you tomorrow.
Dream of that baseball
See you tomorrow,
throw.
pal. I'm glad you're here.
Yep.
Good night, Kobe.
Good night, pal. Get a good night's
Save the
sleep.
best for last. Me,
Good night, Lee.
I love you. Oh, I'm so happy you're here.
Are you coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
That's
down?
the best part of life, right
Okay,
here.
okay.
Yes, sir.
We got 2 out now.
Okay, good.
Knock him down.
Yeah.
Last one.
The finale.
Good luck with Ruby.
Yeah, she's perfectly
Yeah.
okay. She's good.
Yeah, she's morphed.
I think it's the second time to
So
watch.
Nana.
Nanners.
That is a really tough one.
I always felt like she was very.
Go with your gut.
Everything was
First thing comes
supportive.
to mind.
Yeah, first memory of Nanners.
That's what I mean. It's hard to pick,
Growing up.
like when
Or whenever,
she was
really.
such
Yeah.
a good person.
The thing always, like, there's so much about it because it's religion, it's holidays, it's cooking, it's,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing about it, she was always encouraging,
Mm-hmm.
to, just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
She just, don't live for dad, don't live for me, be yourself, live for God,
Mhm.
all that, she was just always very individualistic, but she was very family. It was like protect the family, and she was a protector more than anything in our life from dad, but dad was pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was hard. He hit a lot and yelled and screamed. It was always major tantrums with him, and he took it out on her. And a lot of times she took a lot of the brunt for us. But it was always protecting the family, be it internally with strife or externally. It was family first, and that's the way I've lived my life.
Always.
Family first.
Yep. Nanners.
I mean,
All right. We kind of talked about your grandparents already, but do you have a favorite memory with any of them? Were they like really involved with you? How like Nana was with us, or
No, it was a
remember,
different
like, your
time. Back
grandma's-
then,
your grandma's
grandparents
baking or-
weren't- No. Plus, I didn't like grandma. I have great memories of Grandma O'Donoghue and with Grandpa, Dennis O'Donoghue. In Ireland, we had the wonderful pleasure of spending about 2 months over in Ireland. It seemed like it might have been 6 weeks. I can't remember. I was only 7 years old. And Grandma May, or Grandma O'Donoghue, just, took me under her. She loved me. I mean, I was the charm and the apple of her eye. And so,
You charm me?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
and I used to take pots. They had a little small cottage, which you guys all saw. There was an outhouse next to the chicken coop, and they cut, fresh cut cabbage and dug up potatoes and made dinner. and she had a little old cast iron stove that was sitting down away from the house, and she kept her pots and pans in there. And every day I would take the pans when she washed them, and I would put them away, and she'd give me a penny. It was an old Irish pence, 1 pence.
P.
And I'd collect those and take them down to the store and get candy down at Listowel. So that was a great memory with her.
That's
You know,
cool.
spending that time there at the farm, smells are still in my head, you know, from what it was like back then. Very simple, no car, electricity, but, you know, nothing else. And then you know, with Grandpap John, it was, I mean, just a dashing man,
That's
wonderful
Nana's dad.
guy. Very good looking man, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, tall, handsome guy, always well groomed, dressed to the nines. Like
Really?
when but he used to take his teeth out all the time and scare you. So he had false teeth. And, oh, Jackie. As soon as he got close to him to give him a kiss, he put his teeth out. Then he'd scare you.
Yeah.
And he had this gremlin that lived in his basement called Wicky Wacky. And every time
Oh
he
yeah.
Wicky Wacky.
Yeah, this one.
Wicky Wacky's gonna get you. Wicky Wacky's gonna get you.
Yeah. Wiki Wacky.
Oh my
It's like,
god.
yeah, Wicky Wacky got teeth like yours. How are you doing that? And he has a dog named Poochie.
You gotta think of it.
Wiki wacky.
Yeah, but Grandma May, she died. You know, I have a very brief flashback of her when she fainted, and I can't remember if it was when she had her stroke or if it was when Aunt Clara died. And unfortunately, Aunt Clara committed suicide, and that's a long story too, probably not for publication, but then when that happened, I remember we got scurried out to the porch, and you know the ambulance came. So again, I can't remember at that time because I was only like 4,
Oh gosh.
but I had that flash. of
That's
memory of my
Nana's
mom.
sister.
Plus running around the coffee table down at their house on 5th Street, and I fell and split open. I still have scars here, stitches. They took me up to St. Francis Hospital, which is right at the top of the hill, 5th Street in Lawrenceville. Got stitched up. I was back down there chasing like Michael Dorsch or somebody around the table and hit it again, split me up right the
Oh
other
my
side of the same stitches. Had to go right back up and get stitched. I was about
You're like
5
back
years old, 6
again?
years old. Huh? Yeah.
Your p's back again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a young book.
Young book. Yeah,
that's-
drink
that's-
after every question.
Yeah, right.
Look,
Keep it interesting.
It's like gonna be drunk history soon.
I mean, look,
That's great. I love that.
All
I
right.
mean, that's heavy. Like, you know, I mean, to, you know, have that go on in the family at that age, that's not easy.
Mm-mm.
So going back to the siblings, what was it like growing up with all of them?
One at a time now.
One at a time.
Start with
Start
the
with
top
Denny.
and work your way down.
Start with Jim.
Start with Denny.
Start
Denny.
with Denny.
Dennis and I were on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I was a jock and he was a book smart, always had his head in the stars, this guy. And he would talk to me very, you know, intellectually from the time I was little, and I just looked at him like, huh? And, you know, I'd throw a football at him, you know, but we just did a lot of stuff together. We had a lot of time together, and we did, I mean, just a lot of make-believe stuff when we were little, being astronauts, putting football helmets on, laying in a closet with a flashlight, pretending we were, that was back during the lunar landing in 1968,
Oh, yeah.
69, and all that. So he was so into it.
I'm sure.
But he liked to read books and put model airplanes together and, you know, and talk about the stars. And I was all about sports.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were on opposite ends there. Mary Kay was kind of in between, and she was a tomboy. I mean, she was a really tough tomboy. I mean, she beat the crap out of me growing up. She was tougher than me. I remember when Dad, Papa was
Like
real
me with Connor.
getting nervous that she was too much of a tomboy, so he used to make her walk in the room with a book on her head and try to balance it and walk like a lady.
Some Princess Diaries.
Princess Diaries.
Mary Mary Kay used to walk like she was carrying 50-gallon buckets of water. I mean, she had her arms out. But she worked on the
I
farm
know
too.
a guy
She
like that.
baled
We called
hay.
him luggage.
Yeah.
You know, she was out there with us, baling hay and, cutting corn, all this stuff. So she didn't, we were out there a lot more than her, but she was out there quite a bit. Shoveling manure, put it in the manure spreader, taking it out to the
And you guys only had cows, right?
cows and
Anything
horses.
else? And horses?
Yeah.
Why no sheep?
We weren't that type.
Okay, moving on to Jeffy.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff was
Yeah,
interesting.
the next way.
Jeff was
Jeff-
interesting.
Just always quiet. I mean, as quiet as could be. He loved trucks and tractors. He would sit out there all day long, just pushing trucks and tractors. He also had like cheeks
Very-
like a squirrel. He would
Food-
eat his
food.
food and he'd leave it in his cheeks all freaking day.
His
That was
food.
the most
His
amazing
food.
thing in the world.
It's
I
hard to
remember one
say.
time,
He's
Shaving it to the-
yeah, we'd eat potatoes and peas and something, and got in the car and we were driving to the beach or somewhere, I can't remember. And we go to stop to eat dinner and he still had potatoes and peas in his mouth.
Like, I'm good.
I'm good.
It's hard to talk when you got that.
Yeah, you gotta stay quiet.
And not to like divert, but like even those vacations too, like, What? You're gonna get
Whole
to it?
question.
Oh, okay. Second question.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
Okay, so Jeffy was a little quiet.
And then Tim and Tom were just a ball of terror. They just bounced off the walls, running around like Tasmanian devils, constantly fighting with each other. Just they were havoc. And neither one of them could give you 2-second attention span. When you're talking to one, the other was off, and he would get distracted and go after him. And you literally had to pin them down to do anything. And we always helped out, with the Nana worked full-time midnight shift as a nurse. She'd come home, fall asleep, and then Mary Kay and I were always trying to shake her, wake her up to ask her questions. And we helped get dinner. We helped,
I was gonna say, who's
kids,
in charge
changing
when
diapers,
Nana
they
was-
were, and we had the old cloth diapers. And I remember always getting yelled at by Nana that I wasn't flapping the cloth diaper over and getting the pin in all the way, because then it would come out loose, and then milk duds would fall out of their diaper.
Milk duds.
So
They
you have
weren't
to take the
clean.
diapers over to the toilet and dunk them in, and
So you guys were in charge while Nana went to work. I'm sure,
no, not
or
really.
Pap Pap.
Pap was there.
Yeah.
But we were all pretty much head to bed. And
I mean, it must have been a shock to have twin brothers. Like,
When
I mean,
she
wasn't
was-
it?
The night she went into hospital in labor, no one knew she had twins. She didn't know she
Yeah.
had twins.
Yeah, that's what I
She was
mean.
big as
Like,
a house.
that's a.
Like, could
Our
you
cows
imagine?
got out, and they would always get out because we had lousy fences, because Dennis and I put the fences together, and the old man wouldn't spend money on good materials, and we're having to use these old crickety locust posts. It was
Decided to say go
so
this
hard
way.
to think. And we were only, 10,
Move.
11, 12, 13 years old, we were kids.
Like rubies.
Yeah, that'd be like telling Ruby to go build a fence.
Ruby built the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dennis was good, but it was, it was left to us to run because the old man was always running off, working. He was work, and it was brutal. So Nana's running around chasing
Yeah,
cows
not
that night,
professional.
and she goes into labor and has twins.
Twins.
Could you
Twins.
imagine? Like, I just want to know what Nana was thinking. Like, what?
And then she
All right.
Tim and
Shields.
Tom and Shields.
Sheila was, she was a princess.
Yeah.
She was a slipsy, and
A banshee.
yeah, and surprise. But the thing about Sheila though was, when she was little, she used to always run up to my bed because I had the only electric blanket in the house, and I had the room. When Dennis went to Naval Academy, I got his room for a couple of years while I was in high school, and that was like the big room over the garage, but it was cold, and she would run up and jump in my bed and put her feet up on my back because my back was warm from having an electric blanket. Yeah, but no, she was cute. She was fun, but she was so little.
I said, you
There
have a
was
bigger
14
age
years
gap.
between me and her, or 16 years between her and Dennis. So Dennis only knew her for 2 years at the house, and she was a baby.
Right.
So never really had that kind of strong interaction. Like Tim, Tom, and Jeff, they're 10 years younger than me,
Yeah.
Jeff's, 8 years younger than me. We played a lot. I did all kind of shit with them.
Yeah.
you know, we had a lot of fun growing up, but
I mean, how did you feel about that though? Like all those siblings. I mean,
You took care of it.
after another, it just.
You're like, Mom.
no, you didn't know. No, I mean, that
No,
was the
no.
norm.
I was just
I
wondering.
mean,
how
everybody,
you felt.
put it this way, when we were growing up, we were at the Irish Center, we were at everything we were around was Irish. You know, we lived on Jackson Street, we were hanging out with, you know, the O'Donohues, Mary Teresa and Joni and Noreen, and, you know, and the Delaney's, and everybody was Irish. And everybody had an Irish theme, and everybody had, you know, an Irish background, and, you know, so it was, we go to the Irish Center, we played Irish sports, Irish dance, everything, you know, revolved around Irish and Irish music. And what was interesting was, you know, there was a little bit of a separation with the twins. They grew up in the Irish, being the Blarney Stone, you know, and Jeff, Tim, Tom, and Sheila. Whereas ours was more intimate with the ground roots of Irish in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
AOH, and, you know, the Irish Center, we were there all the time, traveling all the time with Dad for Gaelic football. If he was reffing a game, he threw us in a car, we'd go, you know, Dennis and I, then we'd drive to Chicago or Cleveland or Detroit or Buffalo while he reffed the game.
You guys are getting thrown in the car.
Gotta go ref.
We have a
Yeah.
5-hour drive.
Hop in the car.
You have nothing.
And
Sit
heaven
there
forbid,
quiet.
if you didn't take, even when we were little, if you didn't take your cleats and your shorts, your togs,
Yeah.
you bring your togs and your boots, and you got to put them on. Go fetch balls behind the net.
Yeah.
All right, all those kiddos.
But getting back to that, there was a lot of big families. Aunt Teresa, who lived in East Liberty, was not far from us. We'd walk there, but it was, you know, loads of kids. Everybody had 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, 10 kids. The doors 10 kids. So having all those kids was nothing. If you were an older cousin, you automatically took care of the younger kids. And you automatically, if you didn't, you got scalped upside the head because you're the oldest. You're the older one in the yard.
Yeah.
Once you're there, you know,
Whether you like it or not.
whether you like it or not, you took care of them. So you didn't think about it. You just took care of it. And that's why I think I've always been good with little kids is you always had to take care of them. So you had to pay attention to them. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I was
No,
always
yeah,
good
you
with
handle them.
babies.
You handle
Just
them.
used to it.
And people appreciate that too.
Take
If
care
you're,
of it.
hey,
It doesn't go
any-
unnoticed.
for anyone who is great with kids, that is a skill.
Take them. So did you take family vacations every year? Or did you kind of, whenever you could go on family vacations?
No, we used to go to Ocean City. I don't want to say we went every year, but we went most years. We'd pound the station wagon and hit the road, and we always went to Ocean City, New Jersey. One year we went to Ocean City, Maryland, which was a huge step up. We thought we were living like kings because we didn't go to the skunky old boardwalk in Ocean City.
Didn't you used to fling out like Ritz
Ritz
cracker
crackers.
peanut butter?
Well, that was, yeah,
Or
Paul
was that
Dorsch
something
and I
else?
were riding in the car. We had Nella wafers, and
Oh,
back
vanilla
then
wafers.
they had, you either had two seats that flipped up in the station wagon, you faced each other, or you had a big seat flipped back and you could look out. We always begged for the window to be down. It was not like air conditioning, it was like, you know, 460. What's 4 windows down, go 60 miles an hour, that was the air.
Yeah.
And when you got the back window down, we were putting peanut butter on the vanilla wafers and flinging it at the cars.
They pull up to pack up like,
Yeah. The guy pulls up and he's yelling, he turns his windshield wiper on, smears peanut butter all over the windshield. You know, yelling at that guy.
I mean, I think.
Hey, look at this fucking guy. What's his problem? Pull over.
What's his problem?
There's shit all over his car. We're riding along. And Nana knew exactly what was going on. And what happened.
Eyes forward, eyes forward.
And she promptly shut the window and took the vanilla away from the peanut butter off.
oh my gosh. So what was your favorite family vacation
Of all time.
of all time? The
Well,
big trip to
are you
Maryland?
talking about me as a kid or my family with you guys?
No,
I mean,
your family growing up
As a kid.
growing
as
up
a kid.
as a kid.
as a kid.
You
Favorite
can't, and you can't say
vacation with
Kennywood.
Best family vacation. Well, going to Ireland when I was 5 was a real inspiration in my life because it was so poor over there and it made a real impact on me because I got to see how Dad and Uncle Mick and Aunt Eileen, how they grew up because, I mean, they didn't have running water. I mean, it was electricity and you got water from a well, you got rainwater, and that living that existence and seeing that. No, Grandma had a bike.
Yeah.
Grandpa had a horse. You know?
That's wild.
You know, and that was in 1967, you know, 7 years old.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was a different time, but the best vacation, man, wow. I,
Getting stranded in
one of the most interesting vacations.
How I lost my pinky.
Was when we took the Winnebago to Canada, out through the coast of Maine and New England. That was a great vacation. It was a horrible vacation. It was,
The best of times.
yeah, it was the
Worst
best
of
of times and worst of times. The best of times because being in a Winnebago, that was like the cool thing to do. You know, being a motorized Winnebago, driving up into Canada and seeing all the places, and you know, it was a lot of history up there. But even when I was younger, I really was into all that. And driving down the coast of Maine and just seeing, you know, logs and streams floating down. You know, it was
That
just
would be
really
cool.
neat hearing a moose call at night. You know, that was really
That would
cool.
be cool. I
Um,
can see the logs.
And then you guys got lost, right?
Oh,
of course
yeah.
we got lost. We got lost
We'll
in
have to take a
French
plane now.
speaking Quebec. The old man bitching at Dennis.
I think Dennis took French.
You took French in school. Dennis was driving. He was only like 16. He had a permit. And he's driving a Winnebago through Canada. In French-speaking Canada, with no English on the sign. Nothing. He was yelling.
Je m'appelle America. Where?
Just reading a map, like to get somewhere.
Yeah, a map, yeah.
In French.
But I think
Before
probably
Matt was.
one of the best vacations we had was at Virginia Beach. We went to Virginia Beach one year. That was pretty cool. Twins were probably 7 years old or so. So I was like in high school, and Dennis didn't go. Mary Kay and I were the 2 older ones. But that was a cool vacation.
Virginia Beach.
What made it cool?
We stopped at Williamsburg, which was really neat. Old town. Well, again, I was a history buff when
History
I
buff.
was
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
So that was like really
Something
cool
about it,
seeing
yeah.
the old town Williamsburg. And then we went over to Virginia Beach, and it wasn't Ocean City.
Yeah, something new.
Something
But for a
different,
long
yeah.
stretch, like during the years we were in a farm, and that when the Blarney Stone opened, we didn't go on vacations.
Yeah.
There was just no money, because everything was getting plowed into the Blarney Stone.
Remember we used to go to Gettysburg?
I was gonna say, I'll never
we
forget
got the rubber
Gettysburg.
band guns.
Ever. That's something
We
I'll
went to
never forget.
Gettysburg
Pop
lunch
guns.
when we were on
Yeah.
our way to
And he made us camp out on the battlefield.
I felt so cool with the pop gun. The
Pop
pop
gun.
guy behind, yeah.
Friends-
Are you, like I gotta take
We-
a week.
We were at the
Being
KOA
called-
Crank
What's that?
Campground at Devil's Den.
Yeah.
And I was telling you all about Devil's Den and Riley Golf.
Yeah.
Who's barking on?
I'll never
Good
forget
times.
Gettysburg.
Stop in, start a new one.
Yeah.
Just
Good time.
Yeah.